Okay, my name is Tupac Shakur, and I attend Tamanpai High School, and I'm 17 years old.
Okay. Do you like being 17?
It's like 17 is such a weird age. It's such a in the middle age. You're not 18 yet, and you're older than 16. So. But I like it. It's nice. It's like a learning stage for me.
Do you wish you could be 18 and when you get some more rights?
Well, 18 will bring lots of responsibilities that I don't want, but it'll bring respect that I feel like that's the only way I can get it. You know, I try to be as mature as I can be and demand it wherever I can get it. But 18 is like, you're an adult. You like today when I had to sign the release form, I felt so bad because I couldn't sign it myself. I had to go and get my mother's and all that. But 18 it's just society's way of saying that you're ready. But 17, like I think I'm ready now, as ready as I'm gonna be in this world. But so it's okay. I guess 17 is all right.
Great. Well, how do you think you're most like your mom?
I'm most like my mom because I'm arrogant. Totally arrogant. I agree.
This video about to get so surgical, bro. I'm not even gonna lie to you. We got so much to unpack when it comes around to this conversation because it's not just as simple as the statement itself. There's so many different things that help perpetuate these ideas about not only Tupac, but other people in our community. You see what I'm saying? And I think that by the end of this video, even if you don't agree with me, there will be a grander conversation that maybe you get to have with other people or you get to have with people who have said something similar to this. But at the end of the day, we gotta unpack this. We gotta get to the root of it because I think this speaks to a bigger issue in our community. So whenever somebody wants to prove that Tupac is a fraud, a fake, was never really a gangster, quote unquote, right? This is the interview they typically point to. And the core argument behind this, using this interview, is if the Tupac in this interview existed at one point in time, that means that the Tupac that existed towards the end of his career or during his rap career could not have existed. That it's impossible, right? If you see how Tupac is presenting himself, handling himself, speaking, his mannerisms, etc., and he's behaving in this way in this video when he was 17, the Tupac that we saw later on could not possibly exist. It's impossible. That's the core argument. And my question to that would be why, right? What is it about this interview that makes you think this is the totality of Tupac? This is the totality of who Tupac is, right? And most people's answer will be, well, it's before the fame. A lot of people believe that Tupac's behaviors came from being in the spotlight. Some people even say he picked up a character when he played Juice, right? And from that point on, he added that to the rap career, right? And my whole analysis of that is the fact that you are projecting an idea of what a gangster is supposed to look like, sound like, and move like onto Tupac Shakur. Which is interesting because Tupac never claimed to be a gangster.
I do not believe that I'm a gangster. I do not believe that. I created my own because I didn't want people to get me mixed up with gangsters. That's why I started saying I'm a thug. Because to me, the gangsters is different. I'm a thug. I'm just a regular old. And thugs is not Superman. We ain't special. We just brothers who fight back. You know, we're not the ones that steal your purse. We're not dudes that steal your car. We don't do carjackings. I'm not for that. I'm not with people who steal and do all that shit. Nigga, get paid. I'm with those niggas. The niggas that get paid. Them little tiny young niggas who be dropping brand new cars. You be like, I know that nigga ain't got a job. I'm with that. Cause that takes talent. He a young CEO. You know what I mean? So that's why I call them thugs. Give them some pride. Nigga got pride. You don't want to die. You don't want to kill. You know, thugs isn't about beating up people. Nah, it's not about, it's about being beat up and coming up. I'm a little nigga, man. Did y'all ever write this down, man? I'm a little nigga. You know what I mean? I be out there with the big boys, man, throwing it. I can't throw it soft. I gotta throw it hard. So niggas know this is how I get down. And then that make it good. You know what I mean? That make people go, oh, okay, I see. Just from the words. You know what I mean? Ain't nothing but a gangster party. It's not they just because they like the beat that they're gonna be bopping the head. It's gonna be them words.
So there's so many different questions that pop up that we're actually gonna discuss in detail. But before we get to that, I gotta make this point. In this life, you choose your perspective. You decide how you see things. So the same way people look at this interview and say, look at how he's talking, look at his mannerisms, he's a fraud, he's a fake, he's not a gang, all this different stuff, right? You can take your same ability to choose your perspective and say, that's a bright kid, that was an intelligent kid, that was a kid that was wise beyond his years, and his environment, circumstances, and surroundings diminished what he truly could have become. Those things pushed him in a different direction. They pushed him down a certain timeline that maybe wasn't meant for him. And when you take 1 second to look away from Tupac and look at the communities, you'll see a whole bunch of Tupacs everywhere. Everywhere. Who have this potential to do this, to do that, to become this, to become that, and then they're swallowed by the circumstances, the surroundings, and the people around them. And what makes it interesting is in this same interview that everybody uses to do this to Tupac, they ignore all of the things that prove that he was wise beyond his years. For example, look at this clip.
I hope I don't get in trouble, but school is, I think that we got so caught up in school being a tradition that we stopped using it as a learning tool, which it should be. Like, up to this day, I mean, school should be, I think there should be a different curriculum in each and every, like, neighborhood, you know? Because I'm going to Tamalpais High, and I'm learning about the basics, but they're not basic for me, you know? And it's like, they're not, to get us ready for today's world, that's not helping. It's just what they took, so it's what we're gonna take, you know? And that's why the streets have taught me. And but school is really important, reading, writing, arithmetic. But I think after you learn reading, writing, and arithmetic, that's it. But what they tend to do is teach you reading, writing, and arithmetic, then teach you reading and writing and arithmetic again, then again, just making it harder and harder, just so, to keep you busy. And that's where I think they messed up. There should be a class on drugs. It should be a class on sex education, a real sex education class, not just pictures and diaphragms and unlogical terms and things like that. There should be a drug class. There should be sex education. There should be a class on scams. There should be a class on religious cults. There should be a class on police brutality. There should be a class on apartheid. There should be a class on racism in America. There should be a class on why people are hungry, but they're not. Their class is on gym.
How is this part of the interview not viral? I think the most important thing that he said was how the curricula should change based on the environments of where the school is at, right? A school that is in the upper end of society or for the upper class society should not have the same curriculum as a school that's for the lower end of society, right? The low income society, the projects, the curriculum shouldn't be the same. That's genius. I think about what if that was applied? What if that was applied? Think about all of the things that could have been stopped, all of the things that could have been, that people could have been educated on, from teen pregnancy to dealing with drugs to peer pressure to all these different things that can actually prepare you for the real world. Because in reality, school is really only preparing people for how to create money, how to work within these systems. But if we're talking just on a personable level, right? Human to human interaction, the things that they won't show on TV, the things that they won't, those type of things, school should be teaching you that too. If it's what they say it's supposed to be, if it's supposed to get you ready to be an adult in this society, right? Because the reality is a lot of people are going through school, but are not prepared to be adults in society. And that's bigger than just your responsibilities. That's handling adversity. That's all of these different things that people end up having to go seek later on, right? And I could go on and on and on about this part of the interview. I think even the analysis of the repetitiveness, right, of the school system, of the curriculum, where they're just teaching you the same things, but it just gets harder and harder and harder. And it gets to the point where a lot of the times you're not even using a lot of this stuff in the real world. And we can have we all, at this point in society, it's 2026, we all know the school and all the different things, that it's not really necessarily there for the betterment of our adulthood and how we navigate the real world. We all know that by now. But when a kid is saying this in the 80s, you see what I'm saying? A black kid in the 80s is saying this, and he's articulating himself well, and he's speaking well, and he's all these different things. Instead of looking at that and saying, that was a bright, intelligent kid, we looking at that and saying, oh, he's not a gangster. Oh, he's soft. Even people calling him gay, even going that far. You see what I'm saying? Like, to assume somebody's sexuality because they're speaking in an articulate manner, because they're using their hands, all these different things, it points to so many problems that we really had. Let's talk about it. I know some of y'all gonna be mad at me for saying this, but this is how I really feel, bro. And if you really look, you should be able to see it too. In society, as human beings, we create these constructs, of course, and we want to make sure that people fit in these constructs. We do everything we can to put people in certain boxes. We do everything we can to put people in these constructs, because it's easier to understand somebody when you put them in a box. They become more predictable. They become easier to predict, right? But life is not that simple. And what we do in our own communities, forget the communities that exist outside of us. What we do to our own people in our own community, we stereotype our own community. We stereotype our own communities, bro. Real talk. Listen to what people are saying. When people say Tupac is not behaving in a certain way, boom, boom, all this different stuff, and then he does that later on, so we gotta be faking. Number one, you ignoring the fundamental experience of being a human being, which is being shaped by your circumstances and your environment. That's number one. Number two, you're minimizing the totality of humanity. In that sense as well, by looking at one interview and saying this is the only thing that somebody could be. Right? And essentially, what we do is we have an idea of what a gangster or what somebody from the projects or somebody that really went through shit is supposed to look like, supposed to sound like, supposed to say, supposed to move, and all this different stuff. And if you don't look like that, if you don't embody that, then your experience is null and void damn near. We talking about a dude who grew up in the projects his whole life. Even when Tupac was going to a high-end school or an art school or whatever, you see what I'm saying? He's still going home to the projects. He's still going home to Baltimore. You see what I'm saying? When he was doing the whole dancing and all that different stuff, checking out, he's still going home to Baltimore. He's still going home to a single-parent household. He's still going home to a mother who is struggling with drug addiction, bro. Even when they left and he go to Oakland, he go to or whatever he went in California, he's going from house to house. You gotta understand what that's like. If you ain't never experienced that, you don't understand what that's like. Going from house to house, having to sleep on other people's couches, having to be at the mercy of somebody who is not your blood, who don't really have to do nothing for you, at any moment can get you out of there. These are painful experiences that some of us are forced to live based on our environment and our circumstances that we did not ask for. To minimize that because of the way somebody speaks and the way somebody talks, the way somebody likes to present or wants to present themselves is ridiculous, but we do it to our own community. We make us a monolith, and we do it in so many different ways. It's not even just that. We do it in so many different ways that a lot of y'all probably would not like to admit. Real talk. And I think that's one of the main issues that we deal with in our community, because you ignoring the genius in some of the people walking around in these communities. You're minimizing the genius, and you're encouraging them to disregard their genius in order to become what you say. Right? What you say is the actual idea of being this and being that and being that. And that's what we do. We ignore the geniuses. We ignore the nerds. We make all these different ideas about what a nerd is and all this different stuff, and trash that side of our communities. And then wonder why nobody really want to try to be that. Nobody want to really try to maximize that. It ain't just the environment. Sometimes it's the social pressure. And we don't talk about that enough. We don't talk about how you can be a genius, how you can have all this great perspective and potential, but be around people who might even also have that, but have already been consumed by the environment and the circumstances, and therefore are by nature consuming you. And this brings me to my last point, right? The roles that grew from concrete, or even Kendrick's Good Kid, Mad City, like these philosophies, the rose that grew from concrete is representation of the fact that a rose is never supposed to grow from concrete. That's not its environment. It's not given the same environment as another flower or another scenario. A rose is never supposed to come from the sidewalk. But if you saw a rose growing from the sidewalk, you would say, that's beautiful, that's amazing, right? Because it grew from the worst circumstances possible. The things that it needed to grow, the things that it needed to flourish were not given to it, but it survived and became a rose anyway. This is how we should see our communities. This is how we should see the people who come from these circumstances, these broken homes, these horrible situations, and still grow to become something. They still grow to live fruitful lives, right? To have families, to have all these different things, to still be able to articulate themselves, to all these different things. Good Kid, Mad City, the same thing, right? These kids who grew up in these environments that are destined to turn you into what that environment calls for, but you grow out of it and grow anyway. It becomes something anyway. That's what Tupac represents. That's what even a Kendrick Lamar represents. That's what so many different kids in these communities represent. And we see it in film, we see it whatever. Even people who never make it to superstardom or whatever. But they get out of there, they get a job, they get the family, boom, boom, they live a good life. Those are roses. You see what I'm saying? So when you look at it from that perspective, why don't we ever have that to say? It's always who gangsta and who not, and who do and boom and all this different shit. But what about the beauty in what it takes to go from that to this? We don't do that enough. We don't do enough. We don't do that enough. I feel like every single second we're trying to find a way to minimize, and it's not just Tupac is just a representation of what happens to the black men and women in these communities. You feel what I'm saying? The black and brown people, for real. You see what I'm saying? And we don't have enough conversations about what it takes to even get to the point that Tupac got to. And how that rose might not actually be the prettiest rose. It might be a little fucked up. It might be missing some petals. It might be, you know what I'm saying? And that's what it is. Like, that's what that interview represents to me. Right? That's a rose growing from its environments. And it gets all dirty and like it does, but it's still a beautiful thing to see. And I feel like that's the greater conversation to have about that interview. You feel me? But hey, that's just my perspective. You feel me? Like, comment, subscribe, especially if you're new here, especially if you've been here. I appreciate y'all. Love y'all. The Kingdom Come reaction just dropped on Patreon, so tap in with the Patreon. You feel me? And yeah, man. I'm gonna catch y'all. Have a great day.